Have you ever caught yourself overthinking something so much that you end up doing absolutely nothing? You want to change careers, maybe launch that business or go after something new, but you cannot stop thinking about everything that might go wrong. And before you know it, you have talked yourself right out of it. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. And today, we're going to talk about how to stop letting fear make your decisions. Because fear loves to dress up like logic. It sounds like maybe now is not the right time, or I just need to figure out a few more things first. But underneath all that reasoning is one thing: fear trying to keep you safe and small. And if you are not careful, fear becomes your decision maker. It runs the show. It keeps you in jobs you have outgrown, in relationships that don't serve you, and in routines that don't even reflect who you are anymore. But not today. Welcome to At What Point, the podcast where we dive into the real, raw, and rewarding journey of personal and professional growth. I'm Catherine, your host, here to guide you through mindset shifts, powerful aha moments, and the resilience it takes to thrive no matter what life throws your way. Whether you're climbing the corporate ladder, taking the leap into entrepreneurship, or just looking for that boost of motivation, you are in the right place. Let's dive in. Today, I'm going to walk you through 3 steps that will help you take your power back and finally start moving forward, even with fear in the passenger seat. So here's where we begin. Not with pretending the fear doesn't exist, but by getting honest about it. Because the truth is, you cannot outrun fear and you don't need to. What you need is a way to work through it. And that starts here. So the first step is to acknowledge the fear and name it. Because if you cannot call it out, you cannot move past it. Most people try to avoid fear, ignore it, or pretend it's not there. But here's the truth. You cannot overcome what you refuse to face. You have to say it out loud. I'm scared. Say it without shame, without brushing it off, and without trying to package it in nicer words like, I'm not sure about this, or I need more time. No, call it what it is: fear, because clarity starts with honesty. And once you acknowledge it, here's a practical trick I want you to try. Give that fear a name, a literal name. Why? Because it separates the fear from identity. It makes it something you can observe, that you can manage and talk back to, instead of something that quietly runs your life. For example, I name mine Karen. Yeah, Karen. So when I'm about to launch something new or take a big risk, and suddenly I hear that voice saying, Catherine, what if no one shows up? Or Catherine, you're not ready yet. I say, Karen, I hear you. I know you're trying to protect me, but I'm not staying stuck because of you. You can do the same. I want you to name your voice. Get familiar with the way it shows up, what it says, when it says it, and how it tries to hold you back. Once you name it, you can start creating a space between that voice and your actions. And that's when you remember that you are not your fear. You are the one who gets to make the decision. And that shift, owning the fact that fear doesn't get the final word, that's where real momentum begins. Now, there is something else that matters just as much, and it's your environment. Because even when you start taking your power back, if you are surrounded by people who live in fear and who second guess every move, who never take risks, you are going to find yourself shrinking all over again. Growth doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens when you are surrounded by the right energy, the right voices, the right people. And that leads us straight to the second step. Be intentional with who you are around. Friend, fear multiplies in isolation. When you are sitting alone with your thoughts, your doubts can sound like facts. Your fears get louder, your confidence get quieter. But the moment you step into a room or even a conversation with people who are taking action, who are doing the hard things, who are showing up for their own goals, something shifts. That energy is contagious. You start to think differently. And instead of constantly asking yourself, what if I fail? You begin to ask, what if this works? You need people in your space who don't flinch at big dreams. People who don't try to talk you out of your ideas just because they wouldn't have the courage to try it themselves. The ones who reminds you what's possible because they are out there doing it, even if it's messy, even if it's not perfect. And no, this doesn't mean you have to teach everyone you know, but you do need to take inventory. So I want you to ask yourself, who am I talking in a regular basis? Who is in my text threads, my DMs, my inner circle? When I share an idea, do they lean in my encouragement or do they just try to keep me small? The people you spend time with don't have to be perfect. They just need to be moving because momentum creates momentum. And if you are constantly around people who play it safe, who settle, who shrink, eventually you will start to feel like that's normal and it's not. So if you don't have that kind of circle right now, I want you to build it. Get in the rooms, join the conversations, follow people online who are 2 or 3 steps ahead of you where you want to be. Not to compare, but to remind yourself that it's possible. Their wins are proofs that you are not crazy for wanting more because when your circle expands, your mindset expands with it. And once you have started shifting your circle, even just a little, you will notice something powerful. You will start believing in yourself a bit more. You will feel less alone, less crazy for wanting something different. But even with that new energy around you, there is still one sneaky trap that can pull you back into old patterns, and is negotiating with your own excuses. That internal tug of war between what you say you were going to do and what you feel like doing in the moment. And if you're not careful, that negotiation will cost you the very life you're trying to build. And that brings us to step 3. Don't negotiate with your weaknesses because let's be honest, your biggest obstacle usually is not lack of talent or opportunity. It's that moment right before action when fear kicks in and start negotiating with your commitment. You have been there. The alarm goes off and your first thought is maybe I will sleep a little longer. Or can be that you sit down to write that post, record that video, send that pitch, and suddenly your brain says, let's do it tomorrow. You are not ready yet. And in that moment, you either lead or you shrink. This is where most people get stuck, not because they are lazy, but because they are listening to the voice of resistance and treating it like it has authority. That voice is not truth, it's a habit, it's a pattern. And if you keep negotiating with it, you will keep delaying the life you want. The solution is discipline over dialogue. You don't entertain the back and forth. You decide, you move. And on those days when it feels especially hard, I want you to try something I have used for years with clients and myself, and is the 10-minute shift. I want you to tell yourself, I will show up for just 10 minutes. That's it. 10 minutes of focused action. Send the email, open the laptop, brainstorm the next offer, record the messy draft, move your body, do one thing that moves you closer to where you say you want to go. What happens is so powerful because once you start, you almost always keep going. That small shift in energy creates momentum. You reconnect to your why. You prove to yourself that you are capable of following through even when it's uncomfortable. Because the truth is, showing up when it's hard is how you build trust with yourself. You are not always going to feel motivated, but you can always choose to take one step. And when you stop negotiating with your weaknesses, you finally start honoring your potential. That's when fear stops making your decisions and you start making your moves. And that's why step 3 is so powerful, because the moment you stop negotiating with your weaknesses and start honoring your word to yourself, even in the smallest way, that's the moment everything begins to shift. It's not about being fearless. It's about being faithful to the version of you that's trying to emerge. And when you learn to show up even when it's uncomfortable, that's when you start building a life that's rooted in courage, not convenience. So here's what I want you to remember. Fear is not going to disappear. And honestly, it shouldn't. Fear means you're growing. It means you're stepping into new territory, but you cannot let it be the only holding the map. The goal is not to eliminate fear. It's to move anyway, with shaky hands, with a pounding heart, with a voice that is not always steady, but is still yours. So here's what I want you to do this week. I want you to acknowledge when fear shows up, but don't brush it off. I want you to call it by name and remember that voice is not the boss of you. I want you to get around people who expand you, who remind you what's possible. And when resistance hits, don't negotiate. Lead. Take one aligned action, just one. It doesn't have to be big, but it has to come from you, not from your fear, not from your past, not from your doubt. You, because action builds confidence, and clarity doesn't come from more thinking, it comes from movement. So, at what point do you stop letting fear run the show? At what point do you stop waiting for guarantees and start trusting yourself? You don't need more time. You need more trust. You're not behind. You are not broken. You're just one decision away from moving forward. So, what is going to be? Let fear lead again or take the next step anyway? You got this, friend. Thanks for joining another episode of At What Point. I hope today's conversation sparked some inspiration for your journey of growth and transformation. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to visit katherinebeltran.com/podcast for show notes, special discounts on coaching packages, and freebies to help you keep moving forward. And last but not least, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so you never miss a show. See you next time.